Right now, though, on to some parenting matters. And as a parent, there aren't many talks that can make both you and your preteen feel comfortable, because some of those conversations rather seem to steer in the more uncomfortable direction. But for many, one of those uncomfortable talks is on puberty. But why is this important to discuss it with your child? Puberty. Parent coach Laura Markovitz joined us this morning in studio to chat to us and give us some information. Hello, Laura.
Hi.
We've been having a bit of a giggle on this. This is a big topic. This is a big topic. Firstly, why do you think it's so important to have this conversation with your child? Does it still happen in the modern day and age?
Well, I think it's happening more and more in the modern age, and needs to be happening more and more in the modern age, because it's a time, puberty is a time when our kids are moving from being a child and moving into adulthood, and their bodies are changing. They're going through physical changes, emotional changes. So there are big things happening, and sometimes they can be really challenging. And they're being exposed to things really a lot earlier than a lot of us were, through exposure to the internet. So it can be a time that we can actually just help them to contextualize what's happening to them, demystify what's happening to them, take away any associated shame that they might feel with what's happening, so that we can normalize what's going on and allay their fears and worries. And I mean, there's actually recent studies, Always conducted a study recently that showed in South Africa, they interviewed a whole lot of South African teens, and they found that 59% of the kids that they interviewed said they really wished they'd known more about puberty and been more prepared. So we got to kind of take heed of that and go, well, okay, well, we need to be telling our kids more about this.
Yeah, because I'm sure, I mean, taking a look at the available information, the internet, cell phones, social media, I mean, a teen's gauge can be off, you know. If a parent steps in and they're able to relay that information in a correct way, I think it'd be great. And it's a tough job for parents, I think, because kids are different. If I take a look at myself, when I was going through my puberty, I was a very emotional, child, and I didn't say much or talk much or ask much, so I was kind of internalizing everything, which made it very dangerous, leaning on maybe you could possibly go into a sense of depression. So there's so much to take into account. But when would you say is the right time to start addressing this? What should parents be looking out for?
Yeah, well, I think early, earlier rather than later.
What is early?
So I would say any time from about 7, 8 that we are starting to talk
God, I've got
about.
a year left.
Yeah. quickly. So, things like, when I say, I don't think we should be having the talk.
Yeah.
It's not about having that once-off conversation. It's actually about pointing things out from early.
Yeah.
So noticing bodies are different, talking about it, what do you see, not shying away from that. And then it does mean, absolutely, managing our own experiences of how we experienced puberty, how we would have liked to have improved our experience of puberty.
Yeah.
Taking that into account, and then knowing that we don't have to know it all. It's okay to say to our kids, I'm not quite sure what's happening with that. Let's find out together.
Yeah.
Let's actually check that out. So I would say to go early. Some kids are going through puberty as young as 9. So some girls are getting their periods as young as 9.
Sure.
So, if we are waiting for the onset of puberty, we might be waiting too late to actually tackle some of the challenges that kids are going through.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. We're going to continue this conversation, because I really also want to know is, how do you approach this topic with your child? You say, sit down, let's have a talk now, or how do you do it to make it, a little bit less, I think, uncomfortable on both you and your preteen as well? Laura Markovitz joining us this morning. Big topic, it's puberty on your Feel Good Breakfast Show.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, guys. We needed that bit of a laugh. Myself and Laura over here. Love that for that hangry face. It got us both.
Love
Anyways,
it.
right now, early on, we spoke about how to approach the topic of puberty with your preteens this morning as a parent, which is a pretty tough topic, I think, to navigate. But Laura is back, our parent coach, running us through all those important details. Laura, so early on, we spoke about the fact when you should start thinking about addressing it, around 7 or so. You mentioned that we should start just noticing on it. But I want to know, how do you approach that? So when you as a parent feel like, okay, there's a need for me to step in now, how do you approach it? What does that situation look like? Do you sit down, your boy or your girl, in a professional manner and listen, my boy? How does it look? What do you do?
Exactly. I think that's it, is not to make it the intimidating, we need to sit down and
time for
have
the
this
talk.
talk. You know, so we want to make it, and as I said, around the younger the better to start talking about things so that it doesn't have to kind of culminate in the talk.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you were saying, sometimes it's a little bit intimidating for us to have that kind of conversation, and it might be uncomfortable. So creative ways to be doing it is really to use what's around you. So first of all, when kids are asking us questions,
Yeah.
and they will ask a whole lot of questions, especially when they're little, that we actually address those questions,
Yeah.
that we talk to them. And it's okay to say, oh, this is a subject I'm a little bit uncomfortable with, but you know what, I know it's important, so we're going to talk about it.
I think my parents took a rather interesting approach now that you say that, because we never had really the talk, you know, but obviously as a young boy or young girl, you know, you're learning about your body, you're learning about sex, and I know that my mom and dad, they put this little illustrated, very friendly illustrated book. I think they just left it there.
Right.
They just left it there.
There you go, reading
We educate
material.
ourselves, you know, but I think that worked perfectly.
Absolutely. So to have things around that you can
Yeah.
access, that they know is going to give you an accurate reflection of what's going on, and then to use things that are around you, things
Yeah.
like adverts. You know, when you see an advert on TV for sanitary pads, to be able to say, hey, guys, do you know what that is,
yeah.
or what that's used for? What is that? So deodorant, you know, oh, so do you know that your body's going to change? Why would you be using deodorant? That sort of thing. So to use things that are around there, that we can
Yeah.
actually just bring it into conversations, that it doesn't feel so intimidating.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be the serious kind of thing. I think it should be part of the fun and the journey of
Yeah,
your
and
child
have
growing
a
up.
laugh.
Does the conversation
Absolutely.
look different between boys and girls?
So yes, obviously different things are happening. So some things that are happening that are very similar in terms of, you know, mood, irritability, that sort of thing, growth spurts. But of course, there's specific things that are happening to girls and specific things that are happening to boys. And it's important that we illustrate those by talking about them. So preparing girls specifically for growing breasts, menstruation, those sorts of things. For boys, talking to them about their penises are going to be growing, testicles, that sort of thing, and they might be having wet dreams, and, you know, those sorts of things, that they're actually aware of what's going to be happening, so that even though it feels uncomfortable, we're talking about it, and that it doesn't feel shameful and intimidating
Don't
for
shy
them. And
away from it.
it's there.
It's puberty.
It's there.
You
It's
can't go
happening.
around it. It's going to happen. You've got to go through it. It's great.
And let them know what's happening for each other as well, so that they know what's happening.
Final words of advice. So what could you leave for our parents?
I think for parents to know that it doesn't have to feel so intimidating, that we can have a laugh about it as well, and then to impart on our kids that everybody goes through puberty. This is something that's going to happen to everyone, and it's going to happen at different stages and different times. So to know that you don't have to worry if it hasn't happened exactly as my
Yeah.
friends have been happening, to not hold all of that, to know you're going to go through it, you're going to get through it, and it's
Exactly.
going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. Laura, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Our parent coach this morning, Laura Markovitz, absolutely brilliant, giving us some great advice. And to the parents out there, take it easy. Exactly. Make it part of the journey, because, I mean, they grow up once, and have fun with them throughout this course of their part of their lives as well.